Hello everybody, it is Locke here, and today I'm super excited to be bringing you a blue-black JACE VRYN'S Prodigy deck in Modern, and this deck is based on Cory Burkhart's old blue journalist. It's a Grixis version of what we've got going on here, but I'm just sticking to straight blue-black for today. So before I break down this deck, you can go ahead and check out the timestamp appearing on your screen right now. That'll show you when I start playing through a league with the deck in case you want to skip this breakdown. What we've got going on here is pretty simple. Instead of being like a blue control deck using lots of counter magic and more expensive spells, we're trying to keep the converted mana cost as low as possible, and we're trying to stay proactive and not get hosed by anything like, you know, just like lots of cheap spells which counter spells are bad against, or Cavern Assaults, or Ether Vial, anything like that really. So the way this deck controls and grinds out games is that rather than getting to a point where we've traded off with everything that our opponent has, then we draw a bunch of cards to pull ahead, we trade off everything that we have, and then our graveyard essentially becomes our hand, because we're grinding out value with JACE VRYN'S Prodigy. Of course, the flip side lets you flash back instants and sorceries from your graveyard, and we also have 4 copies of Snapcaster Mage to get similar sorts of value. Beyond that, we get extra value from Liliana of the Veil and Liliana of the Last Hope as part of our threats package. Speaking of threats, the rest of our threats beyond the Planeswalkers are 4 copies of Thing in the Ice, which is a really powerful threat, right? It ends games quickly, it's really good at controlling a board which goes wide, and all the spot removal, you know, it can struggle against a board going wide, but Thing in the Ice covers that, and it helps to keep you alive until it flips as well. So it's just a really powerful all-around threat. Tasigur, you can again cast him as early as turn 2 in this deck, and he's just a really good rate. And of course, he grinds out a lot of value in the late game with that activated ability. You might think, hey wait, Thing in the Ice, bouncing Tasigur, then having to Delvoy a graveyard, that's a bit of an anti-synergy. Sure it is, but these two are both so individually powerful that you can sort of look past that. It works out pretty well anyway, because if you're flipping a Thing in the Ice, you're generally in a good spot. Alright, so supporting all of our removal, discard, threats, and whatnot, we get a bit of consistency out of our Thought Scours that importantly fuel the graveyard for flipping Jace on turn 3 or casting a Tasigur on turn 2, and then of course we have 4 Serum Visions. These cantrips are also really important with the flip Thing in the Ice plan, as well as just making the deck so consistent. Lands, we've only got 20 of them because the cantrips help on that side as well, including 2 Creeping Tar Pits to get us a little bit of extra value out of the mana base too. Sideboard, we're keeping it pretty simple, a couple of Dispels and Countersqualls. While we don't really want to be using lots of counter magic with a JACE VRYN'S Prodigy deck and Liliana of the Veil, you know, there are just some matchups where it's too good to pass up on. And we are in blue and black, so we may as well take advantage of all the tools we have at our disposal. Beyond that, we get a ton of graveyard hate. This is a format full of graveyard hate, and Surgical in particular is excellent with a lot of discard spells. Really good at picking apart combo and big mana decks by just stripping their deck of all of their payoffs. Crypt Incursion is a really cool one. It's not only graveyard hate for the graveyard decks, it's a bit slow on that front, but it does do the job fairly often if you're disrupting them. It's also a life gain spell, so this is tech for super aggro matchups, things like Burn especially. It can gain you, you know, upwards of 9 to 12 life as early as turn 3, especially when you're removing their creatures and maybe even Thought Scouring to mill their creatures out of their deck as well. We also get a couple of sweepers here, because we are very weak to go wide decks in the main board. And finally, we get 2 Echoing Truth to deal with any problematic tokens or other permanents like a Leyline of Sanctity, that sort of thing, and 2 copies of Damping Sphere, because we are very soft to Tron. And that rounds out the deck. I'm going to take it through a league now. I hope you'll join me for it. Alrighty, welcome to round 1 with Blue-Black Thing. We have an opening 7 that I am going to go ahead and keep. 2 Serum Visions, could be anything, we've got enough lands, and we have some threats. And picking up a bit of discard rounds out the hand quite nicely. Second Serum will be a lot better because we'll know what the opponent's up to. Ooh, and it's an Ether Vial off an island. So we're going to lead off on an Inquisition of Kozilek here. And it is indeed Merfolk. Could have been humans, they do run a basic island in that deck too. Alright, it's going to be a game of controlling these island walk lords, I imagine. Mistcall is an interesting inclusion. Not going to do much against our deck, though. In any case, we're just going to take one of the Lords. A lot of Atlantis will do. And I'm going to just crack this Delta for a basic island and Serum Visions to dig for some removal. Alright, we found a Jace and no removal. Alright, here comes Lord of Atlantis. Ooh, and we drew a Thing in the Ice for turn, but we don't actually have any spells in our hand at the moment. So I'm not super excited about playing this out. The way I see it, my options are what? I can do anything really. I can Liliana the Last Hope. Doesn't seem like it'll get much value here. Although I doubt it will be dying either, and it would be useful to get it out. It's also a mana efficient play. I could, if I want to, just Jace and play out the Tar Pit. You know what, I think we really want some removal more than anything else, so I'm gonna go ahead and Jace, and hopefully his looting next turn will find us what we need. He will also immediately flip into a Planeswalker next turn, which is quite nice. Opponent's just going to end step a Curse Catcher, already has Island Walk. We will be taking at least 4 damage this turn, so we really need that removal. Okay, Mistcall is coming down, so we know the opponent's got 2 cards left in hand. We know one of them is a Tectonic Edge. We don't know what the other one is. And we draw an Inquisition of Kozilek. Not exciting in this spot. I'm just going to go ahead and loot first, because this will flip Jace. Darkslick Shores is not useful. Alright, so Jace is flipped. Suppose the best plan we have now is Thing in the Ice. I'm going to use Jace to flashback a Serum Visions. Really want some removal. And Collective Brutality. Well, hopefully that'll do. It won't do if the opponent finds another Lord. But I will keep it on top. And now I'll get to Inquisition as well. Okay, the opponent just has 2 lands in hand. So they'll have to top deck a Lord to stop us from Collective Brutalitying them. And if they miss on a Lord and we kill this Lord of Atlantis, we then get Liliana the Last Hope to start killing Merfolk. And at that point, I think it's going to be hard for us to lose. Alright, incoming Tech Edge. Ooh, and a Spreading Seas. We're actually off of double black now. So we will need to find another black source in order to Liliana at this point. But we were planning to use our Collective Brutality next turn anyway. Alright, we get to block the Lord of Atlantis here. Jace is going to die, we're going to take 2 damage. And back on our turn, it's time to Collective Brutality. So we'll kill off that Lord. Unfortunately, no other plays this turn after they've attacked our mana. But we're a single spell away from flipping Thing in the Ice, a black source away from Liliana, and, you know, worst case scenario, we can Tasigur. Never mind. Now we really need to find a black source. I would also be happy to find like a Serum Visions or something, of course. Okay, opponent's got a Silvergill off their Spreading Seas, so lots and lots of cantrips for them. Good news is we're only taking 1. Alright, big draw step. And that's a miss. That's a miss. JACE VRYN'S Prodigy. Another Spreading Seas for the opponent. And a Peak. That's an interesting inclusion in the deck. Alright, so the opponent's going to combat. They're not putting in a Lord before blocks, so we do only take 1 damage, which is nice for us. Okay, and we found a Fatal Push, but we need to find a black source, and it's another black spell. Alright, I'm gonna throw out this Jace though, because we do get to now flashback Serum Visions off of our flip Jace, and that will flip Thing in the Ice as well. Does mean the opponent gets to draw an extra card off of their Silvergill, but I want my 7/8. And I want my Serum Visions too. Ah, that's good. That's really good. Easy top. Play the Polluted Delta. And I think I'm actually not attacking with my Awoken Horror. This will be really embarrassing if my opponent draws an Island Walk Lord, but I guess at that point I can just Fatal Push it. My plan is to not crack the Delta until my turn, so that I can keep my second black source. That's not good for us. Merfolk Trickster. Okay, Curse Catcher's back in play, as is Mistcaller. We knew about all these already. Ether Vial. See our opponent attacks here. Alright, they're gonna send both at Jace, which makes sense. Because obviously they're playing around a removal spell. Alright, now the turn is back with us. So I only have 1 basic Swamp, then I've got a Watery Grave. I don't really want to shock here if I can avoid it, but it might be worth it to get Liliana in play and ticking up. The problem with that plan is we'd be dead to an Island Walk Lord. I'm just going to go ahead and play my Tasigur out. If I really want to fetch Shock, I can always do so to Fatal Push on my opponent's turn. And I think I'm going to hold off attacking for just 1 more turn. Okay, the opponent's gone for an end of turn Phantasmal Image, copying Awoken Horror. Alright, opponent's going to combat. If they do go for a big swing, this Fatal Push could really blow them out. They'd have to sacrifice this in response to it being targeted, although Fatal Push would kill it anyway. Alright, and the opponent's going for it, swinging with everything. Ah, I see, and they do have an Island Walk Lord, it looks like. Oh? Oh, that's interesting, it's a Merfolk Trickster. Alright, well we get to block their Trickster that's already in play. And then before damage, we are going to fetch and shock, kill the Awoken Horror, and then go down to 1 life. Still a super dicey spot. We are currently looking like we're going to be dead on board unless we draw something. Bloodstained Mire is not something good. Yeah, and unfortunately we're just dead here because we can kill something with Liliana, block 2 creatures, but we're still taking 1 point of damage, which is why we're trying to avoid the fetch shock. So that is going to take us to game number 2. Alrighty, so for sideboarding, I'm bringing out some discards, some Thoughtseize, and an Inquisition, and I'm bringing in my Damnations, are the main one for the matchup, and I've also got Crypt Incursion to gain some life. Not sure how the Crypt Incursion will go, but we'll have to try it out. I think a 3 mana gain 12 life, something like that, seems like it'd be pretty good. But of course, we're mostly relying on our removal, just like in game 1. Alright, and we've got a keeper here, Damnation in our opening hand. So it gets lead on a Creeping Tar Pit and pass the turn. Opponent's got a turn 1 Ether Vial. We're going to go for a JACE VRYN'S Prodigy turn 2. Okay, we've got a Silvergill Adept revealing a Lord of Atlantis for the opponent. And on our turn, I'm going to lead off on a Thought Scour before I do anything else. And it finds us an Inquisition, which is pretty solid, in all honesty. So we'll fire that one off. Oh boy, this is quite a hand. So Silvergill is scary because, yeah, it's just very grindy. Lord of Atlantis is scary, of course, giving everything unblockable. Then there's Deprive. Maybe I'm supposed to play Deprive? Maybe I take Deprive here to make my Damnation better? Yeah, I guess I'll do that. Play my Creeping Tar Pit, and we get to flip Jace here. Crypt Incursion's cool. I don't think I want land number 5, do I? I think everything else is better. We're just going to plus our Jace on their Silvergill. Could have gone for a second Inquisition there instead, but this way I get to keep my Jace. And I do like the idea of having a Jace in play after I've Damnationed. Alright, here comes a Silvergill. And opponent's activating Vial, no doubt to put in a Lord and get in for 1. That does mean I'll get a 3 for 1 of my Damnation, which I will definitely take. Not the most amazing 2 for 1 ever because, or 3 for 1 ever because our opponent's already gotten 2 for 1s off of their Silvergill. But there we go. Damnation resolves. Let's get to plus our Jace. And of course, the nice thing about this is that we now have Damnation sitting in our bin for Jace to minus on at any time. So the opponent is basically having to live in fear of more Wraths. And if they don't play out their creatures, then they have no way to win anyway. So awkward spot for the opponent as they play out a Lord for Atlantis. And there's a Phantasmal Image. So 2 Lords. And we draw a Thought Scour. The nice thing about this situation for us, though, is that if we target the Phantasmal Image, it dies. So that's some nice value off of Jace. And now I can go ahead and Serum Visions and leave up Snapcaster and Fatal Push. I want Tasigur, probably. Keep the Tasigur on top here. Second Crypt Incursion is unexciting, even though it is currently a spell that reads gain 12 life. And if we get a block in with our Snapcaster as well as the Fatal Push, it will gain us 18 life. Alrighty, opponent's rumbling it, ignoring Jace, going straight for the face. We're going to bring our Snapcaster to go for the Fatal Push, 1 Lord, block the other Lord. Alright, Snapcaster resolves. Casting Fatal Push, which resolves. And it looks like we're going to block. So that went as well as it could have. Did exactly what we wanted to do. And now we get to Tasigur. We're exiling everything with Tasigur that we don't want to get given back should we activate its ability. And okay, the opponent's last card is a Venser, which is not what I expected. We do have this Thought Scour in hand though, so we can just Thought Scour ourselves and recast the Tasigur. Even finding a Watery Grave, which will shock in. And we still get to keep all the removal in our graveyard, which is great. And now our opponent is out of cards. They're way behind on board. And they're about to be way behind on life total as well. Although you can see these ended up being a bit win more this game. But in a game like game 1, I think this would have been really valuable to gain a bunch of life. Where we just stabilized a little too slowly. Alright, let's Bloodstained Mire, tick up Jace on the Venser. And Tasigur connects. Alright, opponent's just passing back to us. So on their end step, I'm actually not going to Crypt Incursion. I think that with so much life, we're better off just activating Tasigur. And yeah, fantastic. They're going to have to give us back Damnation, which they can't be too thrilled about. And now we do have the option of ultimating Jace, but I'm not convinced that that's actually a very good win condition. It means we get to mill the opponent for 5 every time we cast a spell. Yeah, I'm just going to crack my fetch, grab my last fetchable land from the deck, and I'm just going to Fatal Push Venser. Not going to activate Tar Pit because I want to keep instead activating Tasigur. Our opponent has another Lord. We get to go for the end step activation here. Finds us a Serum Visions, and there's a Thing in the Ice too. So we'll bash with Tasigur. No blocks, connects for 4. And now I get to Serum Visions. We draw Serum Visions, see Dismember and Brutality on top, which are both pretty good. I'm just going to keep those. Cast the second Serum Visions that we drew. Yeah, Hero's Downfall's pretty good as well. So just hold on to everything. And I'm just going to plus on this master. And at this point you can see we're doing exactly what this deck wants to do, right? The opponent has no way out, they've had no way out for a few turns. We get a removal spell, we can cast the same removal spell over and over again. And yeah, they can do nice little things like copy our Tasigur with their Phantasmal Image, but, you know, we have so much removal it's never gonna matter. Although I should have killed it before they went ahead and activated Tasigur. Alright. They can have a Mistcaller, it doesn't do anything anyway. Alright, they're gonna play the Mistcaller. And I'm just gonna go ahead and dismember the Tasigur. Means my Thing in the Ice can flip next turn. And I believe, if my memory is correct, we left a Collective Brutality on top of our deck, which should just give us lethal after this Awoken Horror hit. And yeah, the opponent's gonna scoop it up to Awoken Horror. Sweet. We also had lethal with the Tar Pits, of course, as well. Alright, well I can't complain about that setup very much. Crypt Incursion wasn't useful at all that game. Maybe I'll bring in 1 Inquisition over 1 Crypt Incursion. It was sort of like a maybe iffy card. And turn 1 Inquisition is really nice to have. Ask and you shall receive, I suppose. Right, opponent's leading off on an Aether Vial. Right, that's a nice draw. So we drew an island. I'm going to go ahead and fetch a basic Swamp and Inquisition. A bit worried that if I did this I wouldn't have a good turn 2 play because of the tap land, but we're all good now. And oh my, the opponent's hand is super weak. Lord of Atlantis and Spreading Seas. I'm going to take the Spreading Seas. I want to keep my Swamp. But wow, that seems like a really loose keep from them. They did just top deck a Silvergill Adept, which is the perfect card to get them out of it. And we draw a Fatal Push, which is also an excellent draw. So I think I'm just going to get my tap land out of the way here. Play my Tar Pit and pass the turn. Okay, opponent vials in the Lord that we already know about. So I'm going to prioritize killing the Lord here. Alright, now we are pretty safe to JACE VRYN'S Prodigy. And we're not under that much pressure, so I think we can Serum Visions as well. Liliana and Liliana are both looking really good right about now, so I'll hold on to those two. And those are the cards that would just wrap up this game quite nicely for us. Alright, opponents played another island. We already know they have a Tech Edge in hand, so down to a maximum of 2 possible spells. And we're going to lead on Last Hope, because right now it looks like the best Lily. We'll see if this connects properly. We'll try to kill the Silvergill, and yeah, Silvergill down. Beautiful, drawing a land is also nice. There's plus Jace with no targets, no point in Inquisitioning. If they have anything, they'll flash it in off the Aether Vial anyway. And yeah, they've got nothing. So yeah, a pretty loose keep from the opponent, but it's gonna be, it looks like a pretty straightforward final game in match number 1. And after hitting our Creeping Tar Pit with a Spreading Seas, the opponent is just gonna pass back to us. We'll just get a Watery Grave out of our deck. At this point, I would like to Inquisition. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. It means I can't cast Liliana of the Veil this turn. Oh wow. Yeah, they let it go, but they don't really have much. Well, I guess they should Silvergill anyway, but yeah, they're not going to get much out of it. So we'll just plus Lily with no targets. And we can just pass holding up Fatal Push, Cast Down, or Snapcaster Fatal Push. There's the opponent's Tectonic Edge. It's going to hit a Black Source. Ooh, wow, and their last card's a Spreading Seas to hit our last Black Source. Okay. Well, they've still got a bit of fight in them, but I'm wondering if their deck can actually overcome the 2 Planeswalkers we have in play right now. Alright, and we just draw a Thing in the Ice for turn, which I will get down. It's a nice way to start to put some pressure on the opponent, move towards closing out this game. Of course, we are moving up to Liliana, the Last Hope Ultimate range, and unlike Jace, the Liliana Ultimate is a real win con. Our opponent's playing a land, passing back to us. We draw Serum Visions, which is very good. Takes a counter off Thing in the Ice. There's a black source, so we'll put the black source on top. We draw a Thought Scour that we can cast right away, so we'll do that, get another counter off the Thing in the Ice, targeting our opponent here so that we draw the tar pit that we know about, plus Lily with no targets, and plus Jace with no targets. Opponent's got another land, so they're flooding out badly, but, you know, they kept a hand with 5 lands in it. I'm gonna plus my Lily one more turn, because I think I can get away with doing that pretty safely. Gonna go ahead and minus my Jace to Serum Visions. I'll keep a Serum Visions on top, play out a Bloodstained Mire, and I'm actually just going to snap Serum Visions to flip my Thing in the Ice and get some real pressure going. So Awoken Horror is now in play. We get to Kraken for 7. Opponent's going to flash in an Awoken Horror. Ooh, actually, I think I've already activated... I let them block, which isn't a big deal, but I wasn't thinking, because I've already activated both of my Planeswalkers, so I actually do want to kill this, because I don't want to lose one. So we get to Fatal Push away the Awoken Horror. And now it's over to our opponent. Alright, Darkslick Shores is the draw. We get to ultimate our Liliana, plus our Jace. Play out a Tasigur, and get in for some damage with the Awoken Horror. And there we go, Liliana is going to start making some zombies, as the opponent flashes in a Merfolk Trickster, which can tap down our Tasigur, but we still get zombies. Alright, opponent's going to Vial something in. Silvergill. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and end turn cast down their Trickster so I can close out the game faster, get their blockers out of the way. We've got so much power in play that we've just got lethal after I plus my Last Hope. And look at this board state. How is this for a low to the ground control deck, eh? Alright, they get to deprive Fatal Push. Doesn't matter, we can just do it again on our turn. We'll plus the Liliana on their Silvergill. And let's do it with style, shall we? We should use the final Liliana to clear their last blocker. And they scoop it up! Alrighty, so we're off to a 1-0 start over Merfolk in our league with a blue-black Thing. Alrighty, so we're back for game 2 with our blue-black Thing deck. I'm gonna keep this hand. It's a little weak potentially. Would really love to draw something to play on turn number 2. But turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 3 Liliana is always going to be good. Oh, did I say always going to be good? I think we're taking Eidolon here, but I do not think we're winning game 1 against Burn. Need to top deck, ideally a Collective Brutality would be a nice one. Snapcaster isn't helpful, actually. Play out the Darkslick Shores. Probably should have played out the Bloodstained Mire, but it's going to get a basic swamp anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Is a Goblin Guide, so I guess Snapcaster is going to do something after all, and trade with the Goblin Guide. Alright, let's see that trigger. Inquisition on top. We'll go ahead and trade off with that Goblin Guide, and I'm going to go ahead and just Liliana. My opponent's probably going to have to attack the Liliana, which is going to mean that it'll kill a creature and save us some life. And this way we can double spell next turn with Liliana into Inquisition. So yeah, draw's not actually so bad for the matchup, but in the end, we are going to need a threat pretty quick smart, because Burn is not going to give you time. Yeah, so Lily's going down. Opponent's fetching second main, and here's an Eidolon. Oh no. That's rough. That's very, very rough. We needed a removal spell. I suppose I'm casting Liliana, but I don't really want to cast Inquisition. So yeah, they're going to go ahead and sacrifice their Swift Spear, but until we answer this Eidolon, oh, we're stuffed. Yep, down goes Liliana. Oh, and a second one? That's brutal. Wait, need some brutalities. So I'm actually going to concede at this point. I don't think we can win. Alright, so that was game 1 against Burn. That was a rough one. Alrighty, so for the Burn sideboard, I don't quite have enough cuts I want to make. I want to bring in my Crypt Incursions, Dispels, and Countersqualls. I definitely want to bring out Thoughtseize, but I don't want to bring out much other than that. I think it's important to prioritize cheap interaction, so I'm going to go ahead and cut 1 Snapcaster, 1 Jace because they're just a little on the slow side, and 1 Serum Visions for the same reason. And try it like this. Okay, and we've got an opening 7 here, which is definitely a keep. And our opponent is mulliganing, which is big, big for us. We're going to lead on a Polluted Delta. We get to fetch a basic island, Thought Scour ourselves, untap, fetch a basic swamp. and then Tasigur. Alright, opponent's got a Goblin Guide. Kinda want to draw a land here, so I'm gonna crack Cast Down though. Yeah, I think I'd still rather find a land. So happy to shuffle that away. Thought Scour ourselves, we find Crypt Incursion. That could be very good later when we draw a basic swamp. I suppose I'm just going to play that basic swamp and then Tasigur here rather than fetching. It's unlikely to matter. I'm probably just going to get a basic swamp no matter what off this land. Okay, and we draw a Creeping Tar Pit. I'm going to go ahead and give my opponent the chance to block here if they want it. They do not. Second main, I'll grab that basic swamp, play out my JACE VRYN'S Prodigy, and then pass the turn holding up Fatal Push mana. Alright, opponent does have Skullcrack on my end step. They are doing quite a lot of damage to themselves with their mana though. When they have a second Goblin Guide, that's annoying. Alright, but the Goblin Guide does draw us a land. One of them does anyway. Fatal Push one. We have an Inquisition on top of our deck, which is pretty solid. I'm now going to fetch out a basic island. Inquisition my opponent. Got a Skullcrack in response. We get to take out a Rift Bolt. Jace is now going to flip. Dismember's pretty good. But I get to plus on this Goblin Guide, so it won't deal any damage. And now to seal the deal, I get to Crypt Incursion to gain myself 6 life. Oh no. Oh no, that was a disaster. I said to seal the deal I get to Crypt Incursion. I was meant to do that on my opponent's upkeep, because they just cast a Skullcrack. Good news for us is that we have a Jace Telepath Unbound in play, so we can flash it back. Countersquall on top. Jeez, that was a bad error. Alright, I'm still gonna keep attacking with Tasigur. Opponent blocks. And that block actually makes me want to plus rather than Crypt Incursion. Because I'm on 5, opponent's out of cards, so they can't actually kill me anyway. And I have Countersquall for a non-creature spell and Dismember for a creature spell. So I'll get in with my Tasigur. Opponent's blocking. And yeah, I think I'm basically just locked into holding up my mana at this point. Yeah, and the opponent having a shock land, that's game over. They can't actually beat us with one spell. So we get to put them down to 3 here. This should be super comfortable. We should just be sitting at 11 life and being happy and not needing them to miss on their draws here, but we're gonna get there anyway. Put the end turn Skullcrack, we have Countersquall, puts them down to 1 life. And that is game 2. Alrighty, so after punting away with my sideboard tech, we managed to scrape that one out anyway. And you can see turn 2 Tasigur is a very, very serious card against burn. So for game 3, we're looking at a 1-land hand here. Without a cantrip, I think maybe this is too greedy, but I think I'm keeping this hand. Collective Brutality is one of the best cards in the matchup. And I've got some really good 1-drops. Okay, we didn't hit land there. I think I can get a basic swamp. My whole hand's basically black. That'll let me Inquisition here. Ooh, and it's the mono burn spells hand. So we'll take Boros Charm. Ay. Yeah, we missed the land drop. Maybe it was too greedy? The fact that they have no creatures and our hand is full of creature removal is also really painful right now. Okay, they did draw land. Oh, and we've missed again. Okay, now it's become a disaster. Officially a disaster. As we're discarding to hand size here. Opponent drew a Lightning Helix. There's their bolts. So we know they've got a Skullcrack in hand. Alright, we draw Inquisition. That's not a land. There's the Skullcrack that we knew about. What's the last card? That's a Skullcrack, so we got some value out of Inquisition. Opponent's passing. And we draw Darkslick Shores, so we'll go ahead and 2 modes our Brutality. See if that connects. I'll discard a Fatal Push. Alright, so they missed for this turn. Just Snared Mesa in hand. And we're back to 6, so we're not just dead to a single card. Oh, and they drew another land. That's exciting. Are we supposed to Jace or Thing in the Ice here? I'm gonna go with Jace. I really want to gain more life with that Brutality in my bin. But it's passing back to us. Darkslick Shores is a very good draw. Means we can hold up Dispel as well. We can discard an excess Jace here. Get our Collective Brutality back. Drain goes through. Okay, opponent has a Swift Spear. We have a Fatal Push. And they let us untap, or are they gonna get in for something? It's a Rift Bolt on Suspend. Okay, well we can't Dispel a Rift Bolt. We can, however, play out Thing in the Ice here. And we know the opponent's got a land in hand, so I think I'm going to take this opportunity to play my second Thing in the Ice as well. While no spell off the top can kill me. No one spell can do 5. Okay, the turn's ours again. We get to Inquisition here. If the opponent does have an instant, we get to Dispel. Got a Goblin Guide, so we'll take that away. Plus our Jace, there are no reasonable targets for it. And pass back to the opponent. Okay, drawing Snapcaster. I'm going to plus my Jace, then up to Snapcaster plus Inquisition here. I want to make my Jace as threatening as possible, while still ticking down these things. Land for the opponent, and forcing them to play into my Dispel. I don't want them to be able to unload a flurry of burn spells in one turn to overload any counter magic I have, so the best way around that is to keep casting Inquisitions. Alright, Polluted Delta's a blank. We get to Inquisition again here, get counters off our things again. Now I get to Dispel Path to Exile. This is going to flip both of our Thing in the Ices. We get to get in for 14 here. And I can't believe it, but we're going to win this game. The opponent's last card's a land. We already know that. This is 14 damage. Wowee! That is impressive. And we win the match. Well, that brings us to 2-0 and 4-2 in games after that greedy game 3 keep. I mean, I'd probably do it again, but I am a greedy player far too often. And yeah, we got there. We got there. Alright, on the play, round number 3, and I think we can keep one land Serum Visions hands, so let's do that. So we get to lead off on Bloodstained Mire for Watery Grave, shock that in, and Serum Visions. Ooh, those are not lands. Alright, well hopefully the top card of our library is a land. I wouldn't normally call a 1-land Serum keep greedy. Okay, another Serum. Okay, into Tar Pit, and 2 more non-lands, so we'll bottom those. Opponent's leading on an Overgrown Tomb, so we're thinking maybe Jund or something? That would be a really interesting test for this deck. Yeah, it's a Tarmogoyf. Come on, land. Yeah, there we go. Liliana of the Veil is possibly the best response to a single threat from your opponent. So that takes care of the Goyf. This could also just be green-black rock. Okay, Jund colors, Jund colors. Bolt on Lily, so that secures a nice 2-for-1 for us. And a Scavenging Ooze. We draw a land. Nice. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cast my Thing in the Ice, and then kill this Scavenging Ooze. I like all the spells in my hand enough that I don't want to 2-modes the Brutality. Hopefully the Inquisition will still get to hit something next turn. That's the only card that's a little bit suspect as the turns go on. Opponent's playing their own Lily. So that will take care of our Thing in the Ice. Nice. Drawing a land here is really excellent for us. Means we can Inquisition the opponent, and we're taking Lightning Bolts, and now we can use our Creeping Tar Pit to kill their Liliana, and that way we're not actually going to get 2-for-1'd by their Lily. Not spending a card to kill it. So opponent's hand is a bit scary. It is Dark Confidant plus Bloodbraid Elf. I think here the Bloodbraid comes. Ooh, into Thoughtseize. Yeah, that hurts. Snapcaster was looking really good in our hand. We're still in okay shape though. And Thing in the Ice is reasonable. Blocks Bloodbraid. We've already got something to kill the Dark Confidant with. Although we're never going to be super excited to be bouncing a Bloodbraid Elf. I'm going to block here. Opponent's threatening something like Lightning Bolt. And they do have it actually, okay. I'm not just going to live in fear of them potentially bluffing. Here's the Confidant. That's definitely worth my removal spell. Come on. Okay, that's a good top deck. JACE VRYN'S Prodigy. Okay, they've got a Blood Crypt. Okay, Dark Confidant. That's not the end of the world. The end of the world would have been a Liliana of the Veil. We are using our life total quite a lot here. But they have already used 3 of the bolts in their deck, and ooh, I like Snapcaster. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and loot with our Jace, discard this Jace, and I think I'm just going to play out the Snapcaster here and use Collective Brutality to kill the Dark Confidant, and now I'll just use Jace to plus on their Bloodbraid Elf. And this is exactly what our deck wants to do, right? So we're playing against Jund, the deck renowned for its grinding, and we're just out grinding them because of these two guys working in tandem. Apparently Liliana has something to say about that, but even so, between Tar Pit and our Jace, we're still very in control of this board. Opponent's ignoring our Jace, just hitting us for 1 point of damage. We draw land, fire up our Creeping Tar Pit, which is going to get its second Liliana kill. And I'm just happy to keep taking 1 point of damage a turn for the time being from Bloodbraid. Alright, so we're taking 1 here. And I do like Serum Visions off the top. Okay, 2 removal spells. I'm going to keep 1 of them. I'm not going to play out the land. There's a slim chance I loot with a Jace later in the game and I want to discard it. I don't see any benefit to playing it. I don't really want to crack it. Alright, opponent keeps attacking. I'm going to fire up my Tar Pit. I'm assuming this attack means that they have a removal spell in their hand. They could have possibly forgotten about the Tar Pit, which would be amazing for us. Yeah, okay, they have a bolt. They have a bolt. So we're down to 6, but the opponent is out of bolts in their deck. I'm gonna go ahead and get back a Serum Visions here when we find Jace Tasigur. That's nice. Definitely keeping Tasigur. Now I get to cast down the Bloodbraid and play a Jace in creature mode. And yeah, the deck is working exactly how I was hoping it would do. And it is just really, really doing a good job of top decking better than Jund. The big question for us will be how we hold up once the opponent gets access to Graveyard Hate, because I believe that Graveyard Hate will be the big weakness of this deck. Alright, so Tasigur has resolved, plus our Jace with no targets, don't want to loot with our creature Jace. Alright, now I get to draw a card of Tasigur 2, and we're just pulling further and further and further ahead. I guess we get another Jace here. Alright, we'll draw an Inquisition. I actually don't want to cast that because I don't want it in my graveyard because it will make my Tasigur activations weaker. I am going to flash back a Serum Visions from my graveyard with my Telepath Unbound. Thoughtseize is pretty weak. Don't want either of these cards either. Let's get on with Tasigur. Tasigur connects, opponent's down to 9 life. And opponent's just passing back to us. So we get to squeeze in another Tasigur activation here. And this is going to find us a spell that we really want. Probably Serum Visions. Alright. Put our opponent down to 5 life here with another Tasigur hit. We'll cast our first Serum, finding a Tar Pit. Yeah, I can keep Snapcaster into push, seems good to me. I'll play out the Tar Pit, I'm going to play out the Serum Visions, and now I've got Thing in the Ice on top, which is fantastic. I actually want to just hold up Snapcaster and Fatal Push here, so I'm just going to plus my Telepath Unbound. Okay, opponent hits a Bloodbraid Elf, and it finds them an Abrupt Decay. Thankfully I've got a bit of redundancy in that department. I'm actually going to loot in response to this. It's a free loot. I'll discard a Thoughtseize. Jace does leave the battlefield when that happens, so Abrupt Decay fizzles. Liliana of the Veil as well, okay. He's going to try to make me sacrifice my Tasigur, but I've got a Snapcaster, which will be the one to be sacrificed, and it will also allow me to just go ahead. Oh, for some reason I thought I had a Fatal Push in my graveyard, and I don't. That's okay, the opponent can't attack because they're dead on board. If they do, and we have a removal spell on top anyway, so the opponent is definitely dead at this point. There we are, there's the Fatal Push. We don't have Revolt yet, so I'll play out my fetch land and crack it. Just grab a basic Swamp, Fatal Push the Bloodbraid, fire up my Tar Pit, and that's the game. So yeah, I could really see the power of Tar Pit shining in the early game, killing all those Lilianas, but we out-Junded Jund pretty hard that game. Alright, so looking at the sideboarding for the Jund matchup, my main board's basically set up the way I want to fight this. I don't really want most of these cards. I'm pretty much set up to be mid-rangey and grindy as it is, which is what this matchup's all about. Cards that are interesting out of the sideboard are Damnation and Countersquall. Countersquall, of course, is important in dealing with Liliana, but it is impossible to hold up if you're behind on board. Damnation is just generally quite solid. It's a bit slow though, but it is leaving you with potential for a 2-for-1 or a catch up if you fall behind. I'm happy to take out a couple of discard spells because they are really bad top decks in the late game. I think I'll just take one of each of these cards. Alright, we have a pretty good opener here. Discard is good in your opener even if it makes for bad top decks. And Fatal Push is nice to have. Countersquall will be good to hold up on turn 3. Although it looks like we might be getting hit with discard ourselves, so we'll have to wait and see what goes. Right, opponent goes for Fatal Push. Interesting, interesting. Hopefully Brutality is able to kill whatever creatures they have. We'll take a look. Alright, Abrupt Decay, Lightning Bolt, Maelstrom Pulse. Suppose we're taking Abrupt Decay. It's basically just a better version of Maelstrom Pulse against us. But the opponent doesn't have any threats, which is pretty encouraging. Alright, they're cracking their Verdant Catacombs. It's a Dark Confidant, so a good top deck from them, but thankfully we have already drawn our own removal spell. Okay, and we draw Inquisition. We'll just go ahead and kill Dark Confidant. We don't want it drawing any cards for our opponent. There's the opponent's Bloodstained Mire just passing back to us. Excellent. We really want to land. Okay, no land. But we do get to Inquisition and probably take this Maelstrom Pulse. Yep, they just drew a land. So it's a real battle of the discard spells here. And what have they drawn? It's a Kitchen Finks. Alright, that's very annoying. And we do draw a Swamp. So their last card in hand is a Lightning Bolt. I'm going to go ahead and Thoughtseize them, make them hit me in the face with it. This is going to put our life total under a lot of pressure. I just really, really want to be able to protect my Lily when I cast it. I want to be able to gain an edge from it. So hopefully I can draw a fetch land and then make them sacrifice their Finks, then kill the back half of it with my Fatal Push. Okay, we're down to 12. It's not a fetch land, but it is a land. Unfortunately, lands which are not fetches don't do anything for us here. So I think I'm just going to pass the turn again. It's a really awkward spot. I'm probably going to be forced to just play my Lily next turn if I don't draw anything better. The good news is I'm holding up some very good interaction here, so it's unlikely the opponent can make any headway. Yeah, and the opponent's casting a Collective Brutality, so I'm just going to go ahead and Countersquall that. Alright, we draw Island. Oof. We had a lot of good draws there, but unfortunately that's not one of them. Alright, let's play Lily. Trading Lily for half a Finks feels really bad. But unfortunately, Fatal Push is not going to do the trick right now. Oh no. Oh no, and the opponent finds a Lily at the perfect time. Well, this has been a really awkward draw for us. Really, really challenging. Well, us drawing a Lily is a good draw, but we're not very good at killing resolved planeswalkers is our problem. Our best ways to do it are Creeping Tar Pit, and of course we have Hero's Downfall in the deck. Opponent finds a Goyf. That's a strong one. And Thoughtseize is not. Yeah, so we're just gonna have to plus and chuck that away. We're not quite dead yet. We could draw Hero's Downfall into like Snapcaster Hero's Downfall. The opponent is probably going to have to kill my Lily here instead of attacking me, so I do have another draw step at least. Okay, it's a Serum Visions. It's a Thing in the Ice. I don't think I want to keep a Thought Scour here. I mean, it's basically a random card. Just uses up some mana. Dark Confidant from the opponent, and that's pretty much going to lock it up for them. Suppose we could still draw Damnation, which is perhaps a reason to be playing 2 copies. Alright, Serum Visions, find us a Damnation, please. Yeah, okay, and we're dead. Alrighty, so that was interesting. I think I'm going to cut 2 more discard spells for another Countersquall, another Damnation, and run it back like that. Okay, we have a decent opening 7, leading off on Darkslick Shores. So turn 2 Thing in the Ice, no discard from the opponent. We'll see if they've got removal for the Thing. Alright, no Fatal Push. Opponent's going to fetch a basic forest. And it's a Scavenging Ooze, okay. We draw Hero's Downfall. Good one to have in the matchup. I'm just going to pass to my opponent here. Scavenging Ooze can't attack through my Thing in the Ice. And I really want to hold up Countersquall this turn. Oh, it's an Abrupt Decay. Well, I guess that means I'm free to go ahead and Fatal Push the Scavenging Ooze. We draw another Thing in the Ice. I'm not going to play it though, because if I play it and my opponent has a Liliana, I will be so far behind. Alright, another Scavenging Ooze from the opponent. Oh. I messed that up. That was a bad mistake. Could be very costly. In response to the Scavenging Ooze being cast, I'm supposed to target Fatal Push. It looks like we'll probably be okay. I'm going to get a basic Swamp here and go ahead and deploy Thing in the Ice. So we're still holding up our Countersquall, of course. Yeah, that was a bad mistake before. The problem here is that these Scavenging Ooze can eat the other Scavenging Ooze, and Abrupt Decay is getting really annoying. So we're taking a hit here. Creeping Tar Pit, okay. Just gonna pass the turn, plan on using Snapcaster Push if my opponent taps out a green mana. They do not. Alternatively, I like the idea of holding up Countersquall, and if I don't need it... Ooh, this is annoying. I was going to say if I didn't need Countersquall, I could go for the Hero's Downfall end step. I suppose I'll just go for the Hero's Downfall here. Opponent's going to eat my Fatal Push out of my bin. Unfortunately, I'm going to lose the option of going Snapcaster Hero's Downfall after this resolves. Yeah, there goes Snapcaster. So yeah, that one mistake has already cost us quite a lot. Ooh, JACE VRYN'S Prodigy, that's not a bad draw. In fact, on this empty board, I think I'd rather play my JACE first than my Tasigur. It's a little better at grinding, and I do still have this Countersquall to protect him. Okay, here's a Bloodbraid Elf. Into Thoughtseize, so we'll have to Countersquall the Thoughtseize because I do want my Tasigur quite a lot. So we're behind on cards in hand, but we're going to be ahead on board in a sec because we'll have a Tasigur to shut down this Bloodbraid Elf, and we'll have a Planeswalker in play. Okay, and we draw Watery Grave. Let's see if we can loot into something better. Not really. I'm going to take the Bloodstained Mire over the Watery Grave though. This is going to let me fetch a basic Swamp, and that means I don't have to delve quite as much. Not going to flashback my Hero's Downfall just yet. Just going to plan on blocking with Tasigur and using his activated ability. Leaving only Snap and Hero's Downfall in my bin means that I'm hopefully gonna get a really good card back in my hand from the activation. We didn't want to see that one though. Maelstrom Pulse on our JACE VRYN'S Prodigy. I'm not going to activate Tasigur in response because I don't want to give my opponent a chance to use a discard spell. Alright, we do get a Tasigur activation in here. Damnation Countersquall. That's not a good hit here. This is the problem with Damnation in the matchup, is that there are spots where it's great and then also spots where it's just a waste of time. Opponent gives us back Countersquall instead though. That is really surprising to me. I'm not going to attack though. While I'm activating Tasigur, I just want to sit back a little and draw some cards. But I'm really shocked they didn't give me Damnation just then. I suppose they were planning to Inquisition all along? Yeah, that makes sense. Terminate sucks for me though. I'm going to activate Tasigur again. Opponent's going to give us Thought Scour. So we're going down to 9 here. Bit frustrating, we're drawing quite a few lands here. Snapcaster, though, is a good one. That's a really good one. I'm going to play out my land, pass the turn. I'm going to plan to use Snapcaster to trade with the Bloodbraid and target Thought Scour. Okay, second Bloodbraid. Oh no. Liliana of the Veil. That is a crazy good hit. Yikes. Alright, so we do have 6 mana available, so I'm going to have to fetch and shock here. We'll go ahead and Fatal Push a Bloodbraid Elf. And now I get to Snapcaster Hero's Downfall the Liliana. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Opponents making themselves discard, and discard another Liliana. That's scary. Now we get to trade our Snapcaster for this Bloodbraid. Empty board, 1 card in opponent's hand. We draw Serum Visions, and draw some removal, get to bottom 2 lands. We currently have every fetchable land in our deck, so bottoming those fetches is really good for us. The 1 Watery Grave that's not in play is in exile. Alright, opponent's last card is a Kitchen Finks. And a Dark Confidant, ugh. I think I'm going to take a draw step before I cast this. Okay, that's a nice one. Alright, so Liliana gets to make them sacrifice a creature here. And we'll go ahead and just cast down the Dark Confidant, because that'll win our opponent the game if we leave it in play. So the opponent does get to keep a 2-1, but we do still have our Tar Pit in play. Just hoping to fade, good draws. It's just a pure top deck war right now. Oh, that hurts. Opponent's ignoring Lily, going straight for the face because they want to make this Goyf lethal. Oh yes, that is a good feeling. And Damnation is going to punish them really hard for that because now we have Liliana on an empty board. Whew. We have drawn a few more lands than our opponent this game, so it feels really good to finally get a good top deck back. Okay, I get another Goyf. 2 Goyfs running. Oh, Snapcaster too. This is good, this is good. So I'm just going to go ahead and Snapcaster and Fatal Push. I want to save my more versatile removal spells for bigger threats later in the game. Opponent hit a land this turn, alright! JACE VRYN'S Prodigy, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So we are still very vulnerable to a top-decked Bloodbraid Elf, but I'm pretty sure I'm just supposed to try to kill my opponent while I'm ahead. Let's try to shut the door before they get a chance to get back in it. It's another land. I've caught up in the land count. Now I get to loot away this fetch. Collective Brutality is much better. I am going to cast it right away though, just to drain my opponent. That allows me to plus my Liliana. And now get to cast Serum Visions. We draw a thing in the ice. JACE VRYN'S Prodigy, Serum Visions. perfect. Bottom the Jace, top the Serum Visions, play the Thing in the Ice. And we're doing it! We're doing it! We are just out-junting Jund, and it feels so good to finally get to this point. These matches have been so tense, but oh, that Damnation was just glorious. And the opponent gets Liliana Last Hope. That's okay. Oh, it's not really okay actually. They're gonna get a Bloodbraid Elf, but this can't really kill us. Terminate's a really good hit. Yeah, they're going face. They just want to be able to top deck a Bolt, and now this is really scary territory. We know we're drawing Serum, so we'll do that. Snapcaster is excellent. So now I get to make them sacrifice a creature, plus Jace has no targets. Kill the Liliana. And I don't want to die to a Collective Brutality, so... sorry, I don't want to die to a Lightning Bolt, so I'm going to cast my Collective Brutality, just to gain 2 life. This deck just runs so nicely when it's going on all cylinders. And that's the match. Hey! There we go, that was a good one. That was a really good one, and we are now up to 3-0 playing our blue-black Thing deck. Hello everyone, and welcome back to round number 4 with our blue-black Thing JACE VRYN'S Prodigy deck. And, ooh, Mishra's Bauble. Baubling themselves, no doubt playing a fetch into Inquisition. I'm assuming this is a build of Death Shadow. Let's see what they take out of our hand. Alright, they take the Liliana. And I think I'm going to lead off on my tar pit. Getting the turn 1 Thought Scour is not too important, it's not going to add too much value. We've got a really nice turn 2 setup. What is going on here? Opponent's doing Cycling Street Raid, Fetching, Shocking, and it's a Gurmag Angler. Zombie Fish time. We can't Fatal Push that. So now the question is, what's the best threat? Thing in the Ice or Jace? Thing in the Ice is certainly more threatening. Let's try that one. Well, we're taking 5 here, down to 15. Opponent's fetching, and Shocking, of course. It's a Death Shadow. Well, we do have removal for that in theory, but they may have Stubborn Denial. We'll give it a go, see what happens. Alright, it works, it works. So we'll play out our Jace here, and just pass the turn. So we're going to be taking 5 more damage here. Have to be mindful of Team of Battle Rage, so it'd be really nice if we could miraculously flip this thing next turn, but that looks unlikely at this stage. Have to find some cantrips. But I think the thing I'd most want right now is a Hero's Downfall, Dismember, or a Cast Down, when it cycles a Street Wraith down to 7, which is exactly how much Thing in the Ice hits for. Jeez. It's another Angler. Well, if we can flip the Thing in the Ice, we just win. Okay. Let's go ahead and No, I messed up. Oh no. I was meant to Thought Scour first. If I Thought Scour first there, we actually get to flip Thing and win the game. Oh, we're just gonna win anyway? I'm just very... You know, sometimes it's just good to be lucky, you know? Yeah, opponent has nothing. Okay. Well, if we Thought Scout ourselves there, we would have had a win guaranteed. We could have cast the Thought Scout twice. Would have been much better shape. But as it stands, we still get to find the win with Thing in the Ice and go up to a 1-0 lead over Grixis Shadow. Play badly, get rewarded. That's my motto. Alright, so for sideboarding, I'm keeping this pretty simple. I want Dispels, they're just really mana efficient. I'm going to bring out Brutality, it doesn't really do much for me. I'm thinking about Damnation, but I'm not super keen on spending that much mana for my removal. And I feel like our spot removal situation should be good enough, especially with the Lilianas considered, and that we can pick off threats with our discard as well. So I'm just going to try it like this and see how we go. Alright, so for game number 2 here against Shadow, we've got a really nice looking opening 7. Opponent's going to lead off on a Bauble, baubling themselves as per usual, checking if they want to draw the card on top of their deck. They do, with a Street Wraith. Second Bauble, checks the next card. How's this for card filtering and Delfuel, right? 3 free effects already. And they must... 4 free effects, jeez, they could get a turn 1 Tasigur here. Wow, that was an explosive opening turn. I'm going to fetch Shock here to start things off, and Thoughtseize. Considering getting a basic, but I'd rather do this. So opponent's going to fetch Shock and Soft Stab here. Stubborn Denial. So yeah, assuming the opponent found a good threat here, we're going to be in trouble. Yeah, Inquisition. Takes our Thoughtseize. And there's a Death Shadow. Alright, come on, removal. Well, that might end up being a removal spell. I'm just gonna get the basic island here. Cast Serum Visions. Come on, removal. Should be more specific. Okay, that Liliana's not good enough. I guess I keep Creeping Tarpit. Not super excited about it. We do get to play a Tasigur here, but it's very likely gonna get outsized by this Death Shadow very quickly. Okay, opponents Thought Scouring themselves. Oh, if they're passing to us, they don't have any way to deal more damage to themselves. Oh, this is huge. Them slowing down creates a wonderful opportunity for us. I'm not attacking, no way. I'm definitely the control deck here, but I get to play out my Thing in the Ice, pass the turn. Okay, Thing's gonna get Fatal Pushed. That's okay. Second Death Shadow, okay. And we find more removal, that's nice. I'm actually going to lead on a Dismember here, paying 4 life. I'm doing this so that I can Jace as well. Now I just get to sit back. The reason for doing the Dismember first as well is that if they had a Stubborn Denial, it would not have Ferocious yet, so it would be counter unless you pay 1. So it wouldn't have actually been able to counter that Dismember. Oh, nice. Fatal Push is really, really welcome here. I want every card in my hand, so I don't really feel inclined to loot. I'm just gonna Hero's Downfall to use up all my mana. Get in for 4 now. Now that the coast is clear, and the opponent just now draws their fetch. A turn too late. Yeah, and they don't have any more threats, and we have so much removal now. 2 in the graveyard, 1 in hand. I will end step loot with Jace. Just draw and discard an island. And there's a Thought Scour. Just loot with Jace. Don't think we need this, so we'll go ahead and Thought Scour ourselves. There's a Thing in the Ice, which I'll play, plus my Jace with no targets. Get in for 4. And yeah, deck's looking really solid. Of course, the opponent did stumble a bit. They had such a crazy opener and just couldn't quite get there on the life loss. They're now down to 1 life. Okay, they've got a good spell. Culligan's Command, returning Death Shadow, making us discard. Well, I'll discard Fatal Push because both my Snapcaster and my Jace can get it back. And Jace can do it without paying any mana, which is really, really nice. Okay, here's the Shadow. Opponent could still make something happen here. We draw Inquisition. That is a good one. That will let me check if the coast is clear for Fatal Push. And there we go. They have a Stubborn Denial. They can't afford to Snap Stub. So we take Stubborn Denial, flashback Fatal Push. Now I get to kill the Death Shadow. Opponent, I guess, should have Thought Scout in response to look for another one. Now I get to attack for lethal. And yeah, they are gonna jump with their Snapcaster, of course. Yeah, I guess that's why you don't Thought Scour. Makes sense. But the opponent's hand is now Thought Scour, Lightning Bolt, 1 unknown. They're 1 life. We have 2 threats and a Planeswalker in play. That's the Thought Scour, and that's the game. That's the match. Ho! And that is 4-0 on our blue-black JACE VRYN'S Prodigy Thing in the Ice deck. This is working so well. Alrighty, we are here for round number 5, looking for that 5-0. And we have a really good hand to get things going with here. I don't want to cast a Serum Visions because I don't know what we're up against, and also if I hold onto it here, I can get a counter off my Thing in the Ice potentially. Okay, opponent's starting off on a Wooded Foothills and a Mountain. It's a Goblin Guide. Alright, what's on top of my deck, Goblin Guide? JACE VRYN'S Prodigy. Do I want JACE VRYN'S Prodigy? No. No, I don't. I'll just go ahead and Thought Scour here. I don't want to draw that. Cast Down, though, is one that I do want to draw. Ooh, so is that Tasigur. That's nice. I'm going to go ahead and lead on my Thing in the Ice, though. Can't Tasigur this turn. It's the stronger threat. Hopefully Thing doesn't get hit by a Searing Blaze. If it hits a Lightning Bolt or something like that, that's totally fine. Alright, so the Goblin Guide is going to give us a Creeping Tarpit, which is very nice of him. We are definitely going to block here. I'm going to give them targets for Searing Blaze sooner or later. Oh, it's just a Helix. Okay, that's good. That means Thing in the Ice was just a 2 mana, gain 5 life spell, which is so good against burn. And oh, Collective Brutality? Yes, please. I'm just going to go ahead and 3 modes this. And I'm going to pitch my either Tarpit or Dismember. Probably Tarpit and Dismember, because I'm pitching 2 cards, of course. Alright, we see their hand. They've got an Eidolon, Goblin Guide. That's not scary. Not with this hand. We see just Lava Spike, Rift Bolt. We'll take the Rift Bolt. Alright, and we're going to cast our Tasigur, leaving only Collective Brutality in our graveyard because we really want to maximize the chances of getting that back. Okay, here comes a Goblin Guide. And Eidolon. There's a JACE VRYN'S Prodigy. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and attack here. Just going to cast down Eidolon and then Serum Visions. Oh, nice. So we get to bottom Darkslick Shores, to tap land, and bottom Thoughtseize. But Snapcaster's a pretty good one. Goblin Guide for the opponent. Hopefully he draws us some lands. Come on. Oh yeah, there we go. Scalding Tarn and Darkslick Shores. Oh, that was perfect. That not only means that we can go ahead and Snapcaster Brutality next turn, but it gives us extra fodder to discard. Alright, there's a Lava Spike, and that's opponent's last card. They're empty-handed. So we only want a 2 modes Brutality. Oh, crap. Should have checked that I'd milled a Swamp. That's really annoying. So unfortunately I'm going to fetch Shock here. But I think I'm so far ahead that it just doesn't matter. It's unlikely to matter anyway. So we get to kill a Goblin Guide, drain our opponent, and discard Darkslick Shores. And now get in for 4 damage, putting our opponent down to 10. And they're empty-handed. We've got a JACE in hand. They've got 2 power in play. We've got 6. We've got a Fatal Push on top of our deck. We'll trade off here. And the opponent's last card is a Rift Bolt. Alright, it's JACE time. Play Scalding Tarn. Get in for 4. Okay, and the opponent draws an Eidolon. I'm definitely willing to Fatal Push that. It's going down to 5 is not a big deal, as long as I'm above 4 life. I can't die to 1 spell, and we're trying to go to combat here. We draw a Thought Scour for turn. The opponent has gone into the tank, or they've got no cards in hand. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, come on, opponent. I'm so ready for this 5-0. Alright, the opponent just lost connection to the game. They're back in action, though. And we are swinging in for 4 here. And I don't think we can actually lose from this position at 5 life. Alright, opponent's down to 2. I'm gonna turn this JACE into a Planeswalker. Ooh, Liliana, does that matter? I mean, I guess I'll keep it in hand just to... I don't think it matters what I do at this point. We can flashback a cast out of his creature. Yep, it's gonna go into game 2 with us up 1-0. Alright, so looking at sideboarding for this matchup, we're doing something similar to last time, although on the draw I think I'm gonna take out 2 JACE VRYN'S Prodigies because they're a bit slow, and keep in the 4 snaps because they can at least ambush a Goblin Guide or something. Taking out Thoughtseize, don't want to kill myself, and Liliana just doesn't kill creatures, this one anyway, so I'm taking her out as well. Let's try it like this. And we've got a 7 for game 2 that I'm not ecstatic about, but I think I can live with it. Double Tasigur sucks. It really does. But this Serum Visions is keeping things together pretty nicely, and hopefully can find me either some removal if I need it. Yeah, okay. What's Goblin Guide gonna show me? More Serum Visions, okay, that's alright. Yeah, so looking for some removal, we're looking for also maybe like a Thought Scour to feel like graveyard. I'm gonna keep one of these fetch lands. I do like hitting my land drops. And Goblin Guide is going to draw us that land. But we are down to 16. There's a Darkslick Shores. Okay, I'm going to play the Darkslick Shores and Thing in the Ice here. Fortunately, I haven't drawn any removal just yet. And what's this? Lightning Clicks to the face? Okay, so already down to 13. Things not looking great for us so far. Okay. Good news is the opponent's playing a 3rd land, so they can't have more than 3 spells in hand. Okay, no attacks. That's really good news for us. I'm going to go ahead and fetch a basic island and Serum Visions here. Take the first counter off my Thing in the Ice. We draw Liliana of the Veil, which is nice, and there's a Fatal Push on top. Perfect. Watery Grave going straight to the bottom. And I'm just going to pass the turn holding up Countersquall. The opponent's going to bolt us. They've probably got more burn spells coming, but I think I'm just going to cast the Countersquall while I have a target for it, just to make sure I get my value from it. And the opponent's just going straight to their turn. Oh, that's... And a 4th land. This is huge for us. Oh, this is really, really good news. No attacks again. Opponent's out of gas. We now get to kill that Eidolon with a Fatal Push, taking a counter off our Thing in the Ice, and follow it up with a Liliana to sweep away this Goblin Guide. Would play out a Tasigur, but the Thing's about to flip, so that's not going to do much for me. Sacrifice that Goblin Guide, please. Alrighty, let's see what the opponent's got. Nothing on our end step. Do they have a 5-land draw? Is that what's happening right now? We've got something here. Boros Charm, down to 6. Okay, now the spell. It's a Skullcrack, down to 3. Could really do with a Crypt Incursion right now. Come on. Okay. It's really awkward. I really want to flip this thing, but I don't. I suppose that means I'm gonna cast a Tasigur for the sole purpose of then bouncing it with a Fatal Push. Because I need to get my pressure going. Plus Lily, discarding Tasigur. Now I get to crack in for 7, so we can Countersquall a non-creature spell, and a creature shouldn't be able to deal us more than 2 damage in one hit. So he shouldn't be able to die. Goblin Guide's really scary though, because that is 2 damage. It's coming at our face, so... Oh, that's a Crypt Incursion on top. Oh, that's gonna be game. We can make them sacrifice their Goblin Guide, then Crypt Incursion, gain 9 life, and the sideboard tech is gonna get there in the final game of the entire league. Oh... Finally proving its worth after the punt earlier on with it. Crypt Incursion, you gain 9, go to 10. Ah, now I'm just safe from everything. I can crack my fetch again. I can counter for lethal if I want to. Ah, suddenly life is good. Suddenly life is good and all is well and just in the world. Alright, the opponents got into the tank again. They're on 1 life. They've got 1 card off the top of their deck. And the opponent's typing out GG into chat. And oh yes! There we go. That is the 5-0 with blue-black thing in the ice. JACE VRYN'S Prodigy. Really need a name for this deck. Whew. Feels pretty good though. Wowee! So looking back at that, that was superb. We've gone 5-0 with a deck that I just basically made up. This is the first draft of the deck, the first league I've ever played with the deck. And it's immediately getting a 5-0, which is really nice. In all seriousness, real talk, I do think that this deck is going to have one big problem in the meta right now, which is that you saw us out-Jund. You saw us out-grind Jund with the help of a one nicely timed top deck. But the main point is we could outgrind them, but only because we used our graveyard so much. It was our 2 drops being better than their 2 drops. It was our Snapcaster and our Jace being better than their Ghost and their Dark Confidence, because they just got us significantly more value, and they got it immediately. So let's reimagine that game, but imagine that one of the opponent's discard spells was instead a Leyline of the Void. Now granted, they will get some bad top decks, and that they will potentially draw multiple copies, and it's not going to be all good for them. They will be down on something else, but without the graveyard aspect of this deck, we lose a lot. So with that word of caution in mind, I thought this just worked out really well. I thought that the interaction that we have can handle just about anything. Obviously, you know, we're not great against Liliana's Sanctity either, so we're a bit weak to Leylines in general, because we're relying on discard as our main form of interaction with anything other than creatures, obviously. But, you know, this interaction hits most of the things that are happening in the format, and it's a very clean package. It's super mana efficient, super low to the ground, super sleek. Even the 2 targets for a bit awkward tapped, like, it proved to be really worth it. And I can't actually think of any changes I'd want to make to this deck right off the bat. Obviously, there are a lot of matchups we still haven't played. I've only played 5 matches with the deck. Crypt Incursion looked a little dicey at times, but I think, given we played Burn twice, it does seem genuinely very good in the Burn matchup. I don't know if it's ever good elsewhere. Obviously, we ended up not needing it against Merfolk, and I did manage to play it directly after I let a Skullcrack resolve against Burn 1 game, but it seems sweet, and it really locked up that last game for us nicely. Otherwise, I'm a bit worried about the Tron matchup. We've only really got Damping Sphere, Countersquall, discard for that. Like, we don't have any really good ways to keep them off Tron. Like, the 2 of Damping Sphere is not going to be reliable, to say the least. So, you know, that's always going to be a concern, but for the most part, the core plan worked beautifully. Tasigur and Thing in the Ice, it turns out they're totally fine alongside each other, because you flip a Thing in the Ice and you're doing great anyway. And by that stage of the game, you've usually got enough fuel in your graveyard to recast Tasigur super cheaply anyway. So I think that works out fine. I think Hero's Downfall is a really important card, because as we saw, we're not good against Resolved Planeswalkers. Brutality in the main board was great. Didn't get to use Lily's minus much, but when we did cast it, the pluses were amazing. So all in all, I'm excited about this deck. And thanks for watching, I hope you are too.